Yeah, sorry for the interruption. I almost forgot that. Okay, I think we are live on YouTube. And I go back to my presentation. And I apologize for not starting from the beginning, but actually we had other things that we were discussing at. I go back and present. So we're talking about meta-literacies and also a 3D model which really goes upon describing what all sort of digital literacies should compose of. It's like actually of a critical element, an operational element, and a cultural element. So a visual literacy in America is not exactly the same thing, which it's not comparable or has a difference. There's a difference between a cultural approach of visual literacy in America or in China or in Africa. Operational, of course, is the ability to use this literacy and to create, produce specific artifacts related to the targeted literacy. And of course, being able to analyze and to filter relevant from not relevant information is the critical aspect related to any of the literacies. This is a quite interesting model trying to address sort of a meta level of literacies. I give you an example of such Green's model of 3D model of literacies. I don't go in depth here. You can read it yourself later. And it goes toward the direction that we have multi-literacies: oral, visual, information, media, science, emotional, critical, computer, news, digital literacies, a lot. And also, it's important what developed through time is an ontological view, which means how does the literacies develop during time. And of course, during the time, not only the literacies evolve, but especially in the last 15, 20 years, also the technologies evolve and the opportunities evolve. So also what is described or defined as a specific literacy goes within this development of the technology. One really crucial difference between end of or beginning of the 90s and beginning of the year 2000, you had the introduction and the mass distribution or development of the internet. And then after 2005, the Web 2.0, which really changed the way the web has been used and created really different approaches to literacies. The capability for each and every one of the members of the internet, not only to receive information, but also to create specific information and create specific information in different modalities, not only as a text, but also as a meme or a video and whatever. And so the literacy definition changed. And this actually, the ontological view is also something relevant and guiding to this enormous change of the understanding of literacies and of new literacies. Then, so you related to that specific view or point of views, the multi-literacy point of view, the ontological view, new literacy studies goes also look at the social cultural approach. We have seen that literacies in China may be different than understanding of literacies in US. And of course, there the term of social literacy evolves. And beside of this study of the social literacy, there are also other types of studies. So you see the literacy is something which really evolving as well, the term and the understanding and the definition of specific literacies is something ongoing and not stopping. What sort of skills are required to address this new and newer literacies? The memeing, that's one skill you just acquired or enhanced now. The susceptibility, which is rather related to a sort of a critical literacy, and also to, if you use it in a sort of advertisement point of view, the way or the opportunity, the capacity to catch the viewer's attention. Then the replication and the remix, which is also applicable for the memeing. Then the activism, and then the global village as a term, and the big idea. which means actually nowadays the relevance of being able to create an alternative to something which is given to you through the mass media or other channels you are using to. And of course, through this explosion of this multilaterality, also the tools which are used to create, to digest, to search, to find the specific information you're looking for, the tools are exploding. And you see here the different tools, just a tiny little, some examples of tools which are existing. And I think most of you know around, I would say, 50 to 70% of these icons that are proposed here. To be honest, I don't know, even me, I don't know all of them. It has been produced, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but most of them you know, and all these tools are actually addressing or needing some specific literacy in order to be able to use them and in order to be able to transport the information you want to transport or to absorb and to filter the information you want to search for. And these literacies are relevant not only for us as experts, but also for all the citizens of the modern society. So you see also another point, actually, you have the technology literacy, the numeracy literacy, the written literacy, the visual representation, the oral literacy, and the visual literacy. As actually all these literacies are addressed in all these tools. So there are there's a myriad of tools we must be able to work with in order to enhance and to use our literacies. Let's go back. Of course, there are models of literacies, and definitions. I think I mentioned that before in the last session. This sort of overview of or definition of the new literacies in the 21st century, which is actually equal to digital literacy, and it's a question mark. So here, sometimes it is to a certain extent, and to a certain extent it is not. Other models actually show the development, as I mentioned before in session 1. You know, you have from the literacy being able just to communicate, and the visual literacy using signs and designs, the information literacy using like books or printed documents, the computer literacy using all the digital artifacts, and then of course the critical literacy, like showing to being able not only to get a lot of information at the same time, but being able to manage this amount of information. All these literacies are part of the new literacies mentioned before. And of course, the new literacies, it's all as well, also the news literacies and many other as well. We have here an overview of all the digital literacies. You have there in the digital literacy, not only just sort of digital related. If you see here, this artifact creativity is part of digital literacies. And this implies that if you want to be a digital literate, you need to be also somehow creative. And specifically, you need to be able to use your creativity and other, here mentioned skills like sort of e-safety, effective communication, ability to find and select information in a creative way to create specific artifacts which can be used for whatever purpose you intend to use. So this is a little bit another way of describing and formulating concepts of digital literacies. As here, again, 2017, the definition of UNESCO. I think you have read this definition already last week. In the first slides, I showed you the first session. And all in all, actually, the product of digital literate persons and machines, maybe, no, machines cannot be literate, so just I take it back. What happens if digital literate persons do something? They actually create artifacts, and they create digital artifacts. And this is something to a bit focus on in the next, I think we'd say 30, 40 minutes. We will talk a little bit about digital artifacts. And we will talk about what sort of tools can be used or are important in order to be able to produce this specific digital artifact. I start with one, I will go in depth later. First of all, DTP, that is actually an abbreviation, an acronym for desktop publishing. This is an artifact which includes magazine, leaflets, posters, and we will talk about a bit more in depth about this desktop publishing. Of course, we have also presentation, we have databases, we have spreadsheets, computer programs, and digital art as part of, that can be part also of desktop publishing, as well as digital animation, digital photography, digital video, digital music, websites, social networking, and online timelines and mind maps. All this can be part of a desktop publishing of magazines, leaflets, and posters. Let's have a look at examples and technologies used to create digital artifacts. Desktop publishing can be used like a newsletter, magazine, leaflets, posters, or brochure. And of course, there you can use like the tools, you know, all of you, maybe publisher is not so familiar, but if you have your Microsoft suite, then you have this publisher as well. You have the same tool for Apple, and you have Google Sites as possibility to create sort of a magazine or a newsletter. Of course, you can also create like sort of a poster. Here, a printed out poster, and here you have, I will show you 3 different possibilities of such a desktop creation tool. Like here is a poster, I think the target audience is a bit younger people. Here you have a bit more literate people, and I mean literate in a traditional way, where it's the people are able to read and write in a better way. And this is a third version of a poster, which may address a bit adult people on a different level of understanding, and this may go toward the sort of scientific poster as a specific digital artifact. Here it is. Could be a digital artifact on the screen. It is a digital artifact, but in this case, would be also possible to have a printed artifact. So actually many scientific posters are not used only in a digital way, but they're printed out and then shared in a conference room. And I think all of you during your career, you already had to create such an artifact, and of course you created it in with digital tools, but then at the end you had to print it out and share your knowledge through the poster with some specific target audience. In case you need to create a new poster, a new scientific or research poster, I would like you to give you a hint to this YouTube video lasting 20 minutes. We don't look it here, maybe you look it afterwards if you're interested in. A lot of scientific posters are really, from the point of view of ergonomy and from the point of view of efficiency, are actually not only bad, they are a catastrophe. So they don't fulfill the target of being a good poster. And just before you create your next poster you will use in a conference or in a presentation at school, please read or watch this video, and you will see that there are many options to do the same job, but without spending more time on it, but in a much better way than you did it till now, or in a much better way than all the posters you have seen on the conference you attended till now. I don't watch it. It takes too long. We go on. The second way of digital artifact may be a presentation, and there, of course, you're an expert. You had a presentation before. Since the age of, I would say, 7 or 8, you learn to present at school among different circumstances. Also, when you are president of your specific association, in your hobby, presentation is something crucial. And of course, we use a digital support for that. And the most common used support is PowerPoint or Keynote. I would like to mention some others. Google Slides is something like PowerPoint, a copy of it. Prezi is a different approach, slightly different approach. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with it. The next slide is about actually a Prezi example. I would like to show you different others, I wouldn't say newer, but different concepts or other concepts of presenting. One concept is the Prezi concept, where on the first slide, you have the opportunity to have an overview about everything you talk, and then you dive into a specific topic, and then you can dive out. So actually, the difference between a PowerPoint, which is actually a linear way of presenting some elements of your some information you want to transmit, and then maybe you get lost using a PowerPoint, or you cannot really fit the nature of the information you want to transmit, because the nature of the information you transmit is not linear, like and PowerPoint actually is quite a linear structure. With Prezi, you can always come back and show that maybe there are many dimensions of the things you want to discuss, and this dimension is not only linear. Another way to show that some information you transmit has not really a linear structure, and I give you an example of Slidescom. I hope you can see that. This is, you don't look at the content. You see it looks like a PowerPoint presentation where you can go forth and back, but then on a certain extent, you can go in depth. You see, if you look at my mouse, this presentation shows that you can go in depth. And what does it suppose? Of course, you can do the same thing in PowerPoint, but with this visual information, you give like the hint to the visual hint to the audience that actually we talk here about deliverables. And if I go down here, I expect actually that here some specific deliverables are addressed. So actually a multidimensional view of what you want to deliver in a presentation can be supported by different tools, and sometimes PowerPoint is not really that good at that. I give you another way, another tool to present. Another example, it's like Miro, I don't know whether you know it. It's actually an online whiteboard for easy collaboration. But the thing is about that, you can not only use it as a whiteboard, you can also use it as a presentation tool. And another tool I would like to present is like, oh no, it's not here. It's called Mural. Mural is not visible here. Let me see. I think mural.com. Yeah. Mural is another tool which helps you to show like sort of a whiteboard approach of what you want to talk. So at the beginning, you see the whole content, but then there is also like a sort of a presentation mode where starting from what you see that it's like sort of the whole thing, and it's possible to use it in a collaborative way. And then, but by the end of the day, you can also just select some regions where you want to present in a linear way. So it's like sort of a merge between sort of whiteboard and a presentation tool. And also here we see that all these specific literacies, they are coming together and merging, and this is visible also in the way of specific tools are developing. So whiteboard tools like Miro and Mural are an example to show how the way of presentation also changes and develops. Oops. Yeah, here we are. Here as an example of Prezi. If you don't know this tool, please spend some time and go and have a look at it. It's really quite easy to understand and gives you another way to present whatever content you want to see. Another way of digital artifacts can be, another type of digital artifacts can be databases. And of course, all of you know what databases are. And there you have library materials, human resources, banking archives, and so forth and so on. And then you have the tools, one of the desktop publishing, tool for databases is Access. It's included in the Microsoft suite, but if you have, you want to have bigger databases, then of course you have Oracle databases, which are much bigger, or other products. Many of them, of course, here as digital artifact, database is something which very important in order to put some order in a big amount of data, in order to structure data, in order to find, in order to combine different information from different point of views. This is something very relevant as a digital skill. If you see such information in a interactive map, as you know, Google Maps or something like that, actually this is a map which has combination of actually an interactive visual representation of a landscape. Here you have United States, but in real time, some additional information are combined with the database. Here, I think it's information related to tsunami. And the important thing, you combine different digital artifacts. Here, information from the database, and here, information from a mapping tool, which really shows just or displays just the geographical region of between North and South America. So also there, different tools can be combined in order to make the information you want to show in a even more salient. Another tool which is relevant for creating digital artifacts, you have the spreadsheets, and of course you know spreadsheets try to visualize some statistical or some statistical numerical evidence, like averages, generating charts, and so forth. And the tools you use, you have spreadsheets or Google, you know these tools as well. This is an example we were seeing before, like a poster about volcano. And here you can see what information can be displayed, what digital artifact can be created by using the spreadsheets. And of course, behind of this spreadsheet, there might be like a simple Excel sheet, but there also might be a whole database. So this is actually a tool for visualizing numerical information, most of the time numerical information, which is categorized by different items. And so you can it helps us to understand like sort of a development over time or over whatever, depends on the thing we want to display. Another point of form of chart, this is actually a chart which is, sorry, I didn't want to go ahead. This is a chart which is, I think, a temporal distribution, and the other one was another type of chart. Another type of digital artifact can be the computer program as an artifact. And this is actually, you know what it is, a collection of instructions that perform specific tasks planned and executed by a computer. And you have like sort of video games, browsers, a lot of things are actually an algorithm which has a specific task. Actually, all of the things we process in a digital way, their process is based upon an algorithm, a computer program. So this is actually one of the core digital artifacts which is created, is an algorithm, and on top of all that algorithm, it has adaptations which goes in many different directions. Beside of now this more technical approach, we have also more an aesthetic approach, and there we have digital art, which is also digital artifact. I don't know whether you know, you read the news who came up, I think, I would say 2 months ago, where I think a digital image has been sold for I don't know how many thousands or millions of US dollars. And you know, you would say, well, what a digital image, what's that? Of course, a digital image can be copied for free. So why do you need to be the owner of a digital image, of the code of this digital image, and by being the owner, pay money for it? And actually, it's a new trend that you get the original code of this image or of this digital artwork, and you pay for it. Yes, we have a question. Yes. Oh, it was $500,000 US. So you see, for something that can be coded, it was it was a meme, the first one, but there are also others that can be copied like for free. But to get the original, the value of the digital art can be something really quite amazing and astonishing. This is also a sort of digital art. Then you have digital animation, you do that as well, and you can do it yourself. Please don't use Flash anymore. This program is a bit out of date and a bit dangerous. You can hide a lot of things which you don't like on your computer. Then Flipbook, Maya, and many, many others. And of course, this is one thing you know, I think you've practice yourself Powtoon as tool in order to create this animated sort of representation of anything you want to show. You have the digital photography, and this is something you use every day by taking pictures with your smartphone. And then, of course, you're trying to adapt by using image processing. This is something which is a topic per se. As you know, I think if you use like the social media, I don't know how many, but how high the percentage of elaborated video images are shown there. All of you know Beautycam and the potential of changing a real image into a specific image appealing better to the norms, social norms. And there is a lot of problem emerging with that. If you're interested in that, of course, there's a lot of literature and also a lot of description about that, about the impact of manipulating visual information in photos, especially in selfies, in photos of human beings, in order to better cope with the pressure, the social pressure you have to look always nice and pretty and sexy and all the things. Here is another example of digital photography. So he's so much into this volcano picture that he forgot that everything is setting to fire, even his shoes. Then, of course, you have the digital video, and there you have in the digital video a lot of opportunities to adapt this video, to cut this video. Now, Final Cut and Lightworks, it works on computer, but of course, you have a lot of tools nowadays which work on your smartphone. And I think all of you are now literate to cut a video even on your smartphone within a couple of minutes, if not half an hour. This is one of the biggest channels on earth, YouTube, you know as well, and there is the creation of digital artifacts in form of videos is huge, huge. Have a look at Google, ask Google how many YouTube videos or how many YouTube hours are uploaded to YouTube within a second. It's incredible and amazing. Beside of the video channel, you have also the opportunity to work with audio. You can, first of all, create specific audio as music or as a podcast, and then you have the opportunity to cut it, to elaborate it, and also to publish it. And here you have some tools, Digital Piano, GarageBand, ImageLine, Future, or Audacity as one or just a couple of examples of so many tools in order to be able to process, create, process, and publish audio information. Of course, you remix it. For the Volcano, you can use Freesound, where you have the sounds of all the things. You can use a lot of libraries. And of course, you as digital literate or as new literate, new literacy literate, you know that you should be a bit cautious about the sources of information you take. You know where you get images which can be processed, which can be used for publication. You know where you can get sound, you know where you can get free videos, you know where you can get also other digital information which is allowed to be published in your website, in your social medium, in your digital artifact which you publish on your blog or on your whatever website you create. I was mentioning already earlier the Web 2.0 effect, where not the big changes actually, not only big companies can produce this digital artifact, but all of us can do it. And this is has changed the internet drastically. I'm sure you're aware 2005 was the first impact, and then since there, the amount of created information and content in the internet exploded exponentially, of course, because all of us can create, all of us can do, all of us can contribute. And this created a huge impact on the internet. And of course, it didn't only create good information, it creates also information which is not reliable, which is fake, which is really targeting only a specific point of view and just denying another point of view. The reliability and the quality of the information decreased overall. So that, of course, caused that we needed to develop a specific literacy in order to be able to filter the relevant information from the non-relevant information, to filter the fake from the truth, to filter the good from the not so good. So this is actually a literacy which really started in 2005, and now it's crucial to be able to find the relevant stuff. And here you have this way of creating information. This is a Wired page where the articles come from different origins, from different users. So everyone can publish these clouds, these volcano clouds, or this volcano eruption images. It's sort of a publishing, a collective publishing, putting together in a content management system or in a blog like Wired. Beside of this information as well, another type of artifact can be done by mind maps, and I think you know what mind maps are. And this is actually a digital mind map. And the interesting thing that nowadays the so-called modern tools, they allow to create such digital artifacts not only alone, but they allow to be created collaboratively, synchronously, which means you can use collective intelligence to make the mind map salient, to make it more precise, to make it more accurate by using groups, all editing directly on the same document. This idea of collaboration is, by the way, also one of the literacies of the new literacy, being able to collaborate using digital tools, or also using other tools. And this mind map tools nowadays, they allow to enhance or to foster this type of digital literacy. I give you a couple of examples. Of course, not limited. There are a lot of other uses, and a lot of these tools I mentioned are pre-installed in your operating system or can be freely downloaded over the App Store if you use the smartphone as a tool for being or creating digital artifacts. And I think nowadays, I wouldn't say most of digital artifacts, but many digital artifacts are created not using a desktop computer or a notebook, but they are created using other interfaces like smartphones or specific interfaces which are for specific types of artifact creation. Now we talked about artifacts and about tools. Let's go again a step backwards and look at the concepts related to digital literacies. And here again, it's actually a bit a catch up also of what we discussed in the first session. And this is in the first session of this, in the first part of this session, but also in the first session of this course. You remember Media Smart's Canada Center of Digital Media showed up this specific digital literacy, defining access as a basic concept, then use as second concept, and then very important, understand and create a third level of digital literacy. So actually, if you are able to understand the specific topic, and if you're able to create digital artifact related to the topic you want to talk about, then your literacy level is high. If you're able to access, of course, then that's conditio sine qua non. If you cannot accede, you cannot create. So that is the basic condition. And all of us in our country, in Hong Kong or in Switzerland, I think all of us have the access skill already. Not all of us can understand and create what's going on, so we have to go there. Then I mentioned already the International Society of Technology in Education. This is this society creates some standards which are relevant for students, and I talked about that already last week. Create, communicate, research, critical thinking, digital citizenship, and technology operations. That are the standards for students, and we are targeting rather the standards for teachers, which are these ones. Actually facilitate, design, model digital age work, promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility, and engagement, professional growth and leadership. These are the standards which you should be able, or which you should reach, standards of literacy related to this new literacy. So actually in this course we are trying to move toward the standards for teachers, educators, tutors, learning responsibles, because actually we hope, or I hope, that one day you will be like responsible for these digital skills in a company, in a school, in a company or in a school, or that you will do some research related to these topics. That's why you are actually studying here at HKU your master degree. Going back to 2011, UNESCO, they also formulate some elements like recognize information, locate, evaluate, store, retrieve, and make effective and ethical use of information. Maybe I go back to this point, which I neglected till now a little bit, make effective and ethical use. So this is one thing which is actually important, how and where to publish the information you want to target, or how and where to publish information, in which language, with which media, and through which channels, using what sort of colors, using what sort of animation. This is something which is important, and this ethical understanding can be very different. I don't know whether you remember the news about Lepto. It's a cartoonist, a Western cartoonist, who showed, or who created a cartoon about Allah a couple of years ago, and then of course all the members of the Islamic community, they were very obsessed about this this cartoon, because in their belief it's not really allowed to make a picture of God, of Allah, and that's why the use of these sketches, of these drawings by Lepto, it was a French publisher which was very famous actually, and created a lot of sort of entertainment drawings, designs. There it had a big impact. He had been really also menaced by religious groups, especially by quite of course extreme religious group, Islamic group. So that means being literate, digital literate, is also in order to be digital literate, you have to be attentive about different ethical sensitivities, social sensitivities, and so you don't publish such a thing, because if you do, you are for sure you can hurt the perception or the ethics of other people. Okay, I would like to go into 10 digital literacy, 10 aspects of the digital literacies, and this is actually sort of summary from the International Society of Technology and Education and the UNESCO, and this is actually something you will have to use for your further homework to next week. First of all, if you want to become digital literate, you have to determine the nature of information and media you need. So you have to skim reading, you have to decide whether the information is useful, and then you have to be able to identify the source authors. So these are 3 skills which are relevant in order to be able to determine the nature of the information you need to do your work, to create your digital artifact. Second part, you have to be able to locate. So where does this information come from? And this is very important, because the information localization gives you an idea about also, or can give you an idea about the reliability and the quality of information you use for your work. And of course, if you did 1 and 2, point 3 is actually at the end, when you have the origin and when you have the localization of the information, then you can try to evaluate the reliability. And therefore, evaluating the quality and the reliability of the media and of the information, you have to know something about the author, the domain, the target audience, the age, the copyright date and copyright contract, and of course also others information. So this one is actually a work that all of you should do with all and every piece of information you take from the internet in order to create something, which means you will have the task to create a poster in next week. And of course, you should be able to locate information, to give information about the origin, of course, not to infringe copyright issues when you use a picture for your poster. And of course, you should be able to use images and background information appropriate to the age of your target group. So of course not showing weapons if you're targeting kids under 12 years, or not even showing guns and arms to any of the people. But that's of course, if you're creating some digital artifact for military purposes, then of course you will show arms, but usually no need of showing such things. Anyway, you have to be conscious of the appropriateness of the information you show, beside of the copyright issues, beside of the quality of the information, beside of the origin per se. Then of course you have to be able to analyze, interpret, and use a range of information and media to communicate meanings through multimodal text. We have different type of texts. Multimodal means text, image, record, video, transition, animation, and audio. This is different, has different modalities. Of course, this information can be transmitted over different channels in a multimodal way or in just one or the other way. So text, of course, can be transmitted over a book, a printed document can be transmitted over a text as you use here. But nowadays, if you have a text, you can use text-to-voice transmission or text-to-voice translation, where you have the text read by a computer language. So that's why also, even if you have a text information, it can be automatically transmitted and it automatically transferred into a record, into a narration. And nowadays you even have the opportunity not only to talk, or sorry, to transmit, transfer, transpose, translate textual information into audio information. We are doing the same in the vice versa way. I'm talking, and you can see in my captioning the written information. So both is possible, and you have an example right now doing as I'm doing right now. Then, of course, point 5, you have to be aware of the security issues and use the information in a social responsible way. That's very important. Everything you do, it has to be, if you publish your name, your date, your phone number, your salary, and everything on the web, of course, there might be people interested in using this information in order to track you, in order to whatever, make abuse of this information, use it in a harmful way or in an obscene way. So just be aware of that. Social responsible, and also just don't use or publish too much private information. Point 6, of course, being able to manage the information in technology space, and that of course is the software approach, data approach, and also the hardware approach. You have to be able to know where the information is stored. Is it locally on your hard drive? Is it on a cloud computing? Is it on a cloud where you can accede it and delete it immediately? Or did you publish it on a website where you don't have access to delete it anymore? That is something very important. Of course, I mentioned before ethical use of information and media. And then for that, especially take care not to use copyright protected material, and especially copyright protected material can be images, pictures, specific text, which is copyright protected, or videos or audio files. And there, have a look at your Creative Commons organization, and there are Creative Commons search engines for images, for audio, for videos. Please use these artifacts if you want to remix, if you want to publish something and you don't want to have any problems with companies who protect their images or their songs or their videos. Of course, beside of being ethically correct, of being not abusive, of creating qualitatively high level information, you have also be able to be effective, which means not talk too long about a thing, not make a video of 3 minutes if you want to show just one fact which could be shown in 20 seconds. Try to be effective and try to communicate also what you want to show to a specific target audience. Use not only the specific tool, use the specific target audience adapted language, and use also the specific media. So if you want to address 12 to 15 years old people, don't use Facebook, because nobody of this target age uses Facebook anymore. Use TikTok or use Snapchat. That is the choice of the tool. And of course, don't use text messages, because the 12 to 15 years old people, they don't like to read anymore. So you need to know which language, which tool, which channel you have to use in order to address the target audience you really want to reach. Of course, the technology is evolving so fast, and the skills as well, the literacies as well. I think all of you in the last, I would say 4 or 5 months, used a new tool for the first time. And there, of course, a lot of problems are encountered. You don't know how it works. You're frustrated because the tool doesn't do what you want, because you have a different ergonomy, you have different opportunities, you have different potential things you can do. You have to be able to solve this problem, and you have to be also able to reflect on not only on the own technology skills, but also on your technology habits, on both. This is a relevant element of these literacies. You should not only use these tools and methods to gather information. If we go back to the ISTE, International Society of Technology and Education, standards for teachers, but also for students, you have to be able to create digital information, to create digital artifacts, and you have to be skilled also, or have a literacy in this point of view. Okay. I've been talking for quite long, and actually I will stop very soon, because actually I'm almost at the end of my presentation of today, and I would like to make after that a break, and of course giving you after the break some time to reflect about what we have talked about today. And I would like after the break then to give you time to start doing the work which is supposed to be done for the next session. So now some critical questions for self-reflection. You can take it in the break or use it for the reflection in your learning journal you will create next week. Which aspects of digital literacies are important when working on a research project, teaching math, learning programming, using Facebook, going shopping online, creating presentation, creating podcasts? Now I cannot read the last point. Typewriting an essay. Now I could read it because the caption went away. So you see that there are quite common activities, maybe not working on a research project, but actually all the other, teaching for some of you, learning for I think all of you, using Facebook for mostly of you, online shopping 100% for all of you, creating presentation for all of you, creating a podcast for some of you, typewriting an essay, I think, for all of you. What sort of digital literacies are important? What are more relevant? What are less relevant? Try to think about that and try to make like sort of a map of the literacies and the relevance related to this specific topic. This is something you can think about for your journal or for yourself in order to be aware of the different types of literacies, digital literacies, new literacies, and in order to be able to have a look whether one or the other literacy is not so developed, a bit underdeveloped from your point of view. One of another literacy may be more developed, or you may force on that on the development of this specific visual news literacy, computer literacy, whatever. Find out and to develop by yourself. We are coming to the activities for this session. I prepared actually quite a big chunk of work. It's a bit more than the work you had to do for session 1. Now you're getting a bit used. It's actually you create a digital poster. And in this poster, you want to teach something. You want to teach one specific media literacy type. Actually, you teach something about. You want to talk about visual literacy. You want to talk about critical literacy. You want to talk about any other literacies you encountered in these 2 weeks. And you try to give some information to teach someone about this type of literacy by using the media artifact, which is a poster. And there you will see that how this new literacy, there's a confluence of these literacies, new literacy in the 21st century skills, because creating a poster per se, in order to create a digital poster per se, you use a lot of these literacies. That is one artifact you create. On the other hand, you have other tasks in order to create this artifact. I will show you now. These are the tasks. We have 4 tasks actually. First of all, oops, I hope you can see it. I need to put this away. You have to describe digital literacy, information literacy, media literacy, and visual literacy. The grammar, the promises, the literature review, and sort of showing 3 scenarios. That is something you have to do. You will have a form where you can use that. I will show you just later on in Moodle. Then, if you choose one of these literacies you described before, and you go in depth. You go in depth and describe it a bit more in a more accurate way. As third task, you recommend related to the literacy you went in depth. You make a recommendation for 2 scientific articles, a YouTube video, and at least 1 website. And then you have to publish all the things on Moodle. I go back to the course, and you see here for session 2, it's a digital poster, and there, if you go to the digital poster, you have a presentation template for the poster. You have instruction, and here in the instruction, if you open this file, I hope you can see it. I'm not sure whether if I open this site, you still can see it on my screen. Is it? But you see the file on the screen, or you just see the PowerPoint or the web interface, the browser?
Do you can just see the browser. We can't see the.
Yeah, sure. That's what. Okay, I have to restart the screen sharing because I didn't. Yeah, now you should be able to see. Actually, you see this are the work. Task 1 is about the literacies I mentioned. Task 2, in-depth description of the scenario. And here you have some also criteria for going in depth to. Task 3, recommend the articles and the YouTube video, and then do the publishing on the Moodle platform. If you're doing so, I go back again and forth to show you. I go back to Moodle now. I hope I can find it. Where is it? The browser? Not here, not here, not here, must be here. Let me see here. Yes. If you go back to Moodle, you see in this digital poster, you have the different approaches and the help for creating that. And at the end of the day, you publish, you submit the poster. And of course, that is the template with all the 4 works you've done. You submit it here on session 3. And at the beginning of the next session, we will have a short presentation of your poster and of the digital literacy you want to promote. That is what has to be done for the next week. We didn't make a break. We still have 1 hour time. For me, you can take half an hour break, and then I will give you half an hour to start organizing yourself for the next session for this poster. I will do the following. I create another breakout session which lasts now 1 hour, 60 minutes. So you can find yourself back in your rooms. The rooms remain the same. You can choose the rooms, I think, for your group work. But of course, you can also make a break now. So I think I propose now that you go back, you go into the rooms, all of you, and then you discuss when you want to, how much break you want to take, or if you want to continue working and then finish earlier. And you work, all of you, on the topic for the next session in your groups. I will remain in that room, and if you have questions, of course, I will be happy to help you as good as I can. I create the sessions now, so you can go, the session are created, but now I see that you have just the first question. So we can work somewhere else too. Of course, you can use whatever you want. I will be in Zoom. If you need me, I can give answers here. Anyway, I wish you a nice week, and I'm happy to see you next week again for the next presentation.
Thank you very much, Michel. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alex, are you here? Oh, you're gone.